Just a second. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm back. Hey, hello, 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 hello. Welcome back. And thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight, of course, I'm going to hydrate. Um, I just want to talk a little bit about storms. When you're going through things and you think, that you've reached the end, it's never the end. And one of the things I've learned how to do is take a breath. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge that today is my mother's birthday. She's been gone 14 years. She would have been 84 today. And when I tell you that I miss her, and when I tell you that this woman made such a tremendous difference in my life simply because she believed in me, she just believed in me. And so, for every young parent out there, here's what I want you to know. If you cannot do anything else, believe in your kid and let them know that. It makes all the difference in the world. I want to give a shout out to those celebrating birthdays today. Excuse me. My sorority sister, Jana Lang. My nephew, Derek Brockington. He was born on my mother's birthday, and that, of course, makes him really special. But I just want to shout out everybody who's celebrating a birthday and to remind folks that birthdays aren't guaranteed, so they have to be appreciated. Let's try it. So, tonight, what we're talking about is deep breaths. Because I don't care what you're going through, who you're going through it with, how it happened, why it happened, or where it happened. In the end, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. That's important. That's critical. Because when I tell you, when I come on this podcast with my experience, first as years as an addiction specialist, as a certified trainer for the state of New Jersey, as a mentor to many for years, as a parent, as somebody who has worked in an executive position, I am giving you my experience, strength, and hope. So, welcome to Coaching You For You. I'm Annette Latigue, and I am happy to have you here. Welcome back. So, life, like I shared last week, life is real. It's real. And I promise you, no matter what we do, life is going to happen. It's going to happen. But I want you to know that no matter what happens, eventually everything is going to be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. Please remember that. Suicide Prevention Week happens for a reason, or month. And it happens because there are times when people are caught up and they're going through things and life is happening. They don't believe that everything is going to be okay. But I want you to know my experience, strength, and hope. Losing my parents, losing my husband, losing two best friends, losing two brothers, losing two sisters, losing a niece, losing people I loved. I'm telling you, although it may seem like it, it's not the end. And if it's not okay, remember that. Because sometimes we're going to feel like it's not okay. But I'm going to tell you some things that work for me. My experience, strength, and hope. And as usual, what doesn't apply, please let it fly. The first thing that I came to understand when I was suffering difficulty in any situation was I had to recognize that I was in that situation. I had to recognize that storm. Because what I want you to know is Sometimes all of the bad stuff will show up at once, and sometimes all of the good stuff will show up at once. But no matter when and how it shows up, the first step, the very first step in a good storm, because all storms aren't bad, and in bad storms, you have to notice, take heed to what's happening. And it's true, except for death and taxes, nothing lasts forever. Whether it's good or it's bad, nothing lasts forever. So life is real, and in real life, there are storms. You know, it always makes me a little uneasy when I hear people pretending or trying to act as if everything is perfect. There's no perfect life. There's no perfect life. All situations are not perfect, and people who don't deal with them realistically end up in other situations that are not perfect. Life happens, and it happens on its own terms. And you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again. Life happens on its own terms. We don't get to determine how it happens, when it happens, or where it happens. It always happens. And I always think when I hear people, I'm like, gee, you know, life can be good and life can be bad. But in reality, pretending that everything is good all the time is bad. And we also have another saying, you know, like fake it till you make it. We don't want you to fake reality, though, because in faking reality, you're faking life. And in faking life, you're going to get caught out there, plain and simple, one way or another. Tough times happen. You know, I used my mentor, Una V. Green, used to always say the storm is almost gone. And woo, that was a tough one. And the truth of the matter is, if we're living, this is for everybody. If we're living, just living, we're either approaching a storm, in the middle of a storm, or coming out of a storm. But no matter where we are in these storms, how we get to them and how they leave, deal with them realistically and just take a deep breath, because none of what you're going through is going to last forever. It won't. I remember waking up some days feeling as if I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe because there was so much going on. And if you've ever worked with a lot of people, you'll understand that by and by. It's difficult, but it's also rewarding. So when we balance, and I talked about this last week, when we provide balance to our life in our reality, you know, living life on its own terms and learning, you know, to raise praise and prayer, it changes things. It changed it for me. And I'm telling you, I've been through some difficult times, and people say, well, I don't want to talk about my difficult times. Well, difficult times exist. And whether we talk about them or not, it's not as if they're going away. Difficult times exist. The point is, how do we get through them? What do we do to get through them? Raise your praise and your prayer. And I promise you, every little thing is going to be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. There's so much more to life, even when we go through storms. And we're all going to go through storms. I don't care. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you fake it. I don't care how you make it. We're all going to go through storms at some point in time. It could be death. It could be the loss of a job. It could be a loss of somebody you love. It could be turmoil in your family. I know some of you don't have that. Yeah, I know you don't. It could be anything, but nobody agrees all the time. And so preparing for that and staying, raising your praise and your prayer, it helps you when those storms come because they're coming. We can't avoid them. They're coming. So pretending that life doesn't happen won't stop it from happening. It won't. Pretending that life does not happen is not going to stop it from happening. It's going to happen. Raise your prayer, raise your praise, and be prepared. It's not the storms we go through that matter. It's how we respond to those storms that are game changers. How we respond. And in the storms that I was in, I learned to take a deep breath. And I mean that literally. Just taking a deep breath. I shut off social media. I started practicing more self-care. I tell you guys all the time about self-care because it was a game changer for me. It was a game changer. To my sorority sister, Donna Stone Martin, I love you. Thanks for joining me this evening. It was a game changer. Learning to take care of myself put me in a position to better take care of other things. Love hurts. Life hurts. It can be good. It can be bad. Raise your praise and raise your prayer. And I promise you, it's going to get better. Even with these allergies, it's gotten better. I'm not sniffling and coughing and rubbing as much as I used to. Praise and prayer. So my response, when I've been through difficult situations, losing family members, losing friends, leaving a job I loved before, it was time, so many things. But praying and praising and taking care of myself made all the difference in the world. And I talked to, us, I shared with us last week about social media. Folks on social media will make you think that they're rich and famous and that they're living every dream. They may be living some dreams because we all do. We all live some of our dreams. Some of us are not always present when our dreams and the blessing shows up, but they show up. Remember that. The blessing and the dreams do show up. Be there when they get there. Just be there when they get there. Be prepared to live in that blessing and to live in some of the things that you prayed and hoped for. Get rid of bitterness. That's right. Because when you're going through changes, being bitter makes it worse. It doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Let it go. Forgiveness. Practice it. It is only through forgiving people that I'm better today. For me. Maybe not for them, but in forgiving people, I'm better for me today. Because forgiveness isn't about anybody else. It was about my healing. And when we're bitter, we need to heal. No matter who's at fault. When we're bitter, we need to heal. And all of us have moments of bitterness too. I know some folks are in denial about that as well, but we do. Take it easy. Take a deep breath. Raise your prayer and your praise and recognize that good times are going to happen and bad times are going to happen. And when you're in the storm, remember I said you're either coming to one, you're approaching one, you're in one, or you're leaving one behind. You're coming out of one. No matter where you are in it, when it happens, I want you to know nothing lasts forever. Don't forget that. Let those be the words you take with you. Take a deep breath. Raise your praise in your prayer. And remember that nothing lasts forever. It doesn't. Here's another thing that helped me. This was one of the hardest things. It was hard. I had to actually see things. You know that storm I talked about? Like seeing it, being aware of it. I had to see things for what they were, not for what I dreamed them to be, not for what I wanted them to be, but for what they actually were. that made the difference in my life. Hey, I'm Annette. I'm here at Coaching You For You. I want to thank you for joining me this evening. Listen, see it for what it is. That's it, and that's all. Thanks for joining me tonight. Have a good evening.